I'm grateful for this invitation. I want to begin by addressing the clear and justified focus in this event, the role of the United States in Iran, especially its role in helping to overthrow Mossadegh government. So the overthrowing of Mossadegh government and restoring the Mohammad Reza Shah to power was a very significant historical turning point in Iranian history. But I must emphasize that the imperialist intervention in Iran did not begin with that COP, nor did it end it there. The relationship between the global capitalism and Iran's ruling bourgeoisie class has always been deeper, more structural, more organic than any signal political incidents or CIA plot. Let us remember that the imperialist struggle against Iran's working class began long before 1953. The first signs of labor organization emerged during the constitutional revolution, which is called Mashruta, of the early 20th century. A movement inspired by the 1900 or 1905 revolution, Russian Revolution. And that uprising or movement was seeking to limit the monarchy power. Through the constitutional movement, failed to change the structure of power. Labor protest persists through the World War I. And the labor movement was a part of that movement, but then was inspired by the Russian Revolution, 1917. Iran's socialist and worker movement established the first communist party in 1920, and which is 1 year before the Chinese Communist Party. The party played a leading role in the jungle movement. That movement came about around during the World War I. And the Bolsheviks in Soviet supported, and they could form Soviet Republic of Gilan, which is a town or a city northern of Iran. But the British imperialism supporting Reza Pahlavi, the father of Mohammad Reza Shah, and the Soviet suddenly withdrew support from that republic, and the republic collapsed, and it followed massacre and exile of hundreds of communists and freedom fighters followed that. So let us be clear that imperialism support for monarchy repression in Iran and the capitalist domination did not start with Mossadegh. And here I want to highlight a crucial point, which is very important, which is not shaped just the history of Iran, Iran's past, but for our present also important. Imperialist intervention in Iran and across the Middle East cannot be separated from the internal class struggle. Too often, imperialism is treated as an external force, acting on innocent, unified societies, and this is false. Our societies are not homogeneous. They are riddled with class exploitation, patriarchy, and system of oppression that were born within, not imported from outside. Post-colonial romanticism, like this Avatar movie, like a vision of peaceful native utopias corrupted only by foreign invaders are misleading, and it's also dangerous. Imperialism is not just an external force, it's a form of a global capitalist system. The so-called national bourgeoisie in Iran was never national. It was, and it is, imperialist in its nature, not different in essence from the counterparts in Washington or London. After World War II, the United States replaced Britain as a dominant power in Iran. It did so to extract profit, to exploit cheap labor, and to control our region's immense oil reserve. The alliance between United States imperialism and the Iranian monarchy reflected deep class solidarity, not between peoples, but between capitalists. That partnership was already entrenched well before Mossadegh's fall, and it continues long after. From a geopolitical perspective, the Shah regime served as a bulwark against the Soviet Union, blocking access to the Gulf region and protecting America's oil interests. With the removal of Raza Shah in 1941, his son Muhammad Raza Shah installed with US and British backing and ruled with an iron fist. And what did that rule bring? Yes, there were infrastructural projects, so-called land reform and so-called white revolution, but none of it changed the fundamental misery of Iran's poor. Millions of peasants were displaced, driven into cities to live in slums and work under brutal conditions for starvation wages. Independent unions were banned. The secret police, which called in Persian Sabak, crushed dissent. Poverty deepened, inequality soared, and all voices of opposition, especially workers and intellectuals, were violently repressed. Even when oil revenue surged in the 1970s, the workers got nothing but rising prices and growing hunger. And so they rose. The 1979 revolution was not an Islamic revolution. It was mass uprising of workers and poor, demanding freedom, equality, and justice. The left, the socialist, and the labor movement led the way. And the turning point came in October 1978, which is very important, and it's not mentioned that much. When oil workers went on strike at the Abadan refinery, the strike spread rapidly to oil fields in Ahvaz and Bushehr, and by November, oil production fell from 6 million barrels per day to just 500,000. The regime was crippled, its military and security forces were paralyzed, and the oil strike broke the Shah. That was mass revolution. Had it been allowed to follow its course, it could have birthed a socialist government of the working class. But that could not be tolerated, not by imperialism, not by capital, not by local bourgeoisie. So they turned to Khomeini, amplified him in the media, supported the Islamic faction as a lesser evil to suppress and crush the revolution, calling the suppression of that revolution an Islamic revolution as a pure lie. Tens of thousands of leftists and workers were executed in the year followed. Universities were shut down, press freedoms were abolished, prisons filled, and then came in Iran-Iraq war, a war that imperialism helped launch, and Khomeini himself called it divine blessing because it gave him the cover to militarize society and crush dissent. Yet, even after all of this, the regime could not stabilize. The people returned to the streets again and again. It began in 1999 and 2009, 2017, 2018, 2019, and again in the 2022 uprising after the murder of Mahsa Amini by the morality police, which is many of you maybe heard about that uprising. Despite the bans on labor organization, there are now independent workers' organizations in Iran that remain at the forefront of everyday protest. And so I should return to today. This panel comes at times when United States and Israel have launched yet another criminal war. This time under the pretext of targeting Iran. But let us be clear, such war efforts only strengthen the fascist Islamic regime. Fascists feed each other, which is very, very obvious. Israel genocidal assault on the Palestinian people with direct support of United States is being broadcast live. It's live or to the world, an open air Holocaust in Gaza. But this reactionary war has also served to silence protests inside Iran. From March 21, 2024, this is only some record to show what happened after the war in 13th of June. From the March 21st of 2024, which is the beginning of the last year in Iran, to March 20th of March to 2025, Iranian workers carried out nearly 2,000 protests and strikes. So at least 5 every day. Since June 13, not a single one. This regime has never stopped crushing dissent, especially among workers and communists. Thousands of political prisoners languish in its prisons. Some prisoners are now being executed, accused of collaborating with Israel, despite having been arrested years before this war even began. So what is to be done? Solidarity from American workers with Iranian workers must be more than symbolic. It must include urgent public demand to end US and Israeli war threats. But it must also go further, demanding that the Iranian regime end its repression, free political prisons, and stop executing its people. We must stand together, not just against imperialism, but also against capitalism, against theocracy, and for the emancipation of the working class in Iran, in Palestine, and across the world. Thanks very much.
My name is Halaleh Taheri. I'm a founder and executive director for Middle Eastern Women and Society based in England. And I'm a representative for Worker Communist Party, Hekmatist, like Shamal. My part would be about the women movement in Iran, the biggest movement in the region. And also, I think one of the best movement that going all around the world talking about women's fight in Iran. I start from the 1979 when revolution happened. When Khomeini came back, the first message to women were they must take it, wear hijab. And this week that his message spread widely in media, it was close to International Women's Day. At the day of the International Women's Day, women rushed to the street in a huge number, made it a demonstration, and clearly sending the message to Khomeini and his regime that women doesn't accept hijab, and in a women's right is global rights. And then the fight between women's movement and the regime starting from that day. It also was a moment that a new movement, which we call it the Women's Liberation Movement, started to be born. In this movement, women wanted total of freedom and equality. Women wanted all the rights in a very modern and radical way. And then their look was very high about women's situation in Iran. And during the 4.5 decades in Iran, this movement exists, worked, have been punished again and again by execution, by putting acid on women's faces, by arresting them, by torturing them, by sending them away out of the country. Many of them have to run from the country. And by make them unemployed, sending them back to the home, and then by propaganda against women. So misogyny propaganda was so huge, and huge money have been spent for that. For example, every Friday from the mosque, starting showing how evil is women and how they should be controlled by men. And they're lecturing a part of those men that they were around them. Or even they starting with the special schools that they spend so much money to spread this misogyny culture in the society. But fight in this way against women didn't work. Of course, we suffered a lot. Women in Iran had many sacrifications, many victims, but it's just changing the way, always finding the way to fight back against the regime. For example, stoning is from backward culture from the Muhammad time, come back to the Iran. Women fighted against that. They have to go back and do it any execution, not in front of the people. Or marriage for 9 years old women, girls, child marriage. It was so abused by the Sharia law, which they put it all the Sharia law in family law. The first attack that was like that by the law, they make it women captured at home by and then around them it wasn't any air to breathe regarding the women's situation. So anyway, so women fight back on and on and on, but never have been so wide spread that the whole world about them until 2022. In 2022, the tip of iceberg was the Mahsa Jina Amini, who been killed because of the hijab. She didn't wear proper hijab. And after that, the movement getting heated, and then starting, it spread to all the cities, and it spread for men and women. It wasn't just women that coming to the street. And it was a moment that women decided that say that we don't go back anymore. For 3 reasons, this movement in this period is really important. First of all, a new generation that have been brought by Islamic regime, but they were totally against the regime. They were totally against the family law, against the hijab, against the Sharia law, against the gender apartheid. And then they had their own solution. And their solution was women's rights and all the demands that women wanted for their life. And then they were clever. They decided not to go back, stage back. Another reason is that actually they show you to the whole world that the fight for women's rights is not just only by women. It must be supported by men. And the men gather around them when they burn it hijab, when they take it out hijab, all the men starting clapping for them, and then they empower them. It was a moment that I think the whole world see that how unity between men and women is important for women be free, because when women are free, the man will be free as well. And the third lessons of this movement was that actually women in Iran, by their movement, showed that it's not a miracle outside should change the Iran for better for people. It's exactly people on the ground on this country can change, can get rid of the Islamic law, Islamic regime, or whatever it is. And after that, this movement changes many many methods for, but still is fighting. For example, de facto, in this country, still girls don't wear hijab, going hand to hand with men in the street, dancing in the public, doesn't answer to the morality police that they are coming, but also morality police are very strictly against them. They created a new law that they have been punished in different way, economically, physically, putting in prison, making a lot propaganda against women and young girls. But still, women didn't give up on this issue. I will stop here about the whole movement, about the women. I wanted to talk a little more, a little extra about that, what happened with the women in working class. Women in working class in this package that I described have been double punished during the 4.5 decades by the Islamic regime. First, because they were women. Secondly, because they were workers. Workers, women in working class, by the labor law, there is no protection. There is no insurance for them. There is no security, and misogyny in the work, sexual abuse in the work, in the workplaces is huge. For example, around 2 million women are working, but there is no contract for them. They are informal workers. They have a blank signed contract whenever they are not happy with her, whenever she say that she's pregnant maybe, or she wanted to go married, whenever the woman say no to the sexual abuse or anything, at any moment they can get rid of this woman and then she will be unemployed. In the law, absolutely, in the law labor, there is no support for women. Or even if there is few of them, there is never enforcement on those points that there is in labor law. And women never get its support from them. Another thing that with women in working class is very hard is misogyny from the environment, from the communities, because it's in poor society, poor community that they are living, and it wasn't any opportunity for education. Many of them are not educated. Many of them are not have certificate for the work, and therefore because of that they will be with very, very low wages that they have. And also misogyny against them is higher. For example, amount of femicide, which in Iran and Kurdistan they call it honor killing, is very high. And even punishment for the girls, for young girls, if they don't wear hijab, if they appear like they say, the Western girls, it will be harder for them again. And such a situation creates a very, very hard atmosphere for women in working class that appear like leaders in demonstration. They are in the demonstration, they are supporting working class, but they are not organized as well. This is what is one of the problem, because they are working two shifts of the work. When between 10 or 12, they are working as a labor. When they are coming back, they must work another 5 to 6 hours to feed the family, feed the husband, clean up everything, get ready for the next day. So there is no space at all for women in working class to think about something else, to think about themselves, to organize, to be organized, to visit other people, to learn from each other. So in such a hard situation, unfortunately, we don't have many. If there is Haftape or Neishakar organization or trade union among the women, there is a very, very few. It's very, very undercover, and it's not supported by even sometimes by men workers, unfortunately. So therefore, knowing about their right, fighting for their right, is not as usual as we are seeing in the middle class level, that they are fighting for their right, for social or justice or legal rights. Supporting working women is one of the crucial things that it's on the table of leaders of working class. Because without women, without support from the women, how the workers in other side could win? And then if the women are not aware about their rights, and if women are not organized, how they can join any demonstration, how they can be part of the revolution in future, how they can change the society. So therefore, I will end it with that unity and solidarity, visiting leaders each other between men and women, supporting women, lifting them up with their right, with their organization, helping them to create their own organization, being member of those organization who are structures are very, very man dominated, is really important, and it must start from today. It's really, really important. I don't want to take all the time. I don't know how many times I left it, but anyway, so what I am saying that working women in working class need support from the leaders of the workers who are organized, and from the rest of the women activists and activists, to help them to be organized, to fight for their rights, and be part of the revolution against the system, against the capitalism. Thank you.
Say that it's obvious. I mean, United States is trying to impose the fascist policy all over the world. I mean, it's something that they want to in their competition with China. One see that there's not that much left for United States other than resorting to the military power in order to crush their competitors, so China and Russia and other countries that want to get out from the system led by United States. I mean, the same as happened in, it's not the same exactly, but it's on the same line that United States wanted to impose its leadership to so-called civilized world, or maybe, I mean, they call civilized world, but it's probably can be seen like civilized. And the Western world in 1991, when they took the invasion of Kuwait by Saddam Hussein as a pretext to launch a brutal war against Iraq and impose sanction on that country. I mean, this like somehow going in the same direction, but in a very different situation now in the world, and it's very dangerous situation that we have, because the tension between the world powers, it might lead us to a greater war between those powers, and it's with this nuclear power that they will maybe think to use it in that war. We are in the brink of a catastrophe all over the world, and this Iran war might lead to that point. It's not something that will stay in that region. And for that region, the United States is supporting also Israel, which want to be like a empire in that region, and all the people in Middle East should obey what Israel wants and what Israel likes. And then we cannot forget the Islamic regime here. As we said from the beginning, I mean, I think I see that, and we see that the Islamic regime is a part of the imperialist world. It's not like an anti-imperialist power that many I mean, unfortunately, many in the left in outside, I mean, in Western world want to see Iran. They just want to see somebody who go against United States imperialism, whatever the forces, whatever that state is not important. But we cannot forget that Iran also had a very reactionary and I mean, destructive role in this region. They supported militias in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Syria. They supported the Assad regime, which committed a huge crime. I mean, crime against its people. And they supporting Houthis in Yemen, who are militia like. I mean, they are actually brutal against the people in Yemen, and they supported all those militias. And in Iraq, they supporting those militias in Iraq who are like criminals. They just company that have a weapon, or maybe military that doing business, and militia that doing business. I mean, that's the role of Iran. We cannot forget it. But the important thing, like how the working class can take position against this, is very important to uh, for workers all over the world, especially in the United States, to stand against this war, to impose as we do in Iran. In United States, workers should go against the regime in United States, and to let this war end here, because we now we have ceasefire, but the war didn't end. And I think there is a very big, I mean, it's the possibility of relaunching the war is here, it's there. It might happen next week, maybe 1 month later, but uh, mm, the situation is not peaceful, and we are just waiting for another war in the region, which affects the whole situation all over the world. That's a very dangerous. And as I said before, it's not only that the Iranian regime is under attack. The whole society in Iran is under attack, and many of Shah lovers or maybe so monarchy lovers in United States, they are aligned with the United States, and they clapping for Israel. Go and attack Iran, as it's a way to making another regime change. But there's a risk of turning Iran to another Iraq, or maybe worse, with ethnic and religious conflicts. And this is catastrophic beyond any imagination in this region. and it will affect all the workers' movement all over the world negative way. And now we see that people in Iran do not do anything. I mean, they cannot go to the streets again. I mean, exactly before that war, maybe 2 weeks before the attack of Israel, there was a very big protest in all over the Iran. So maybe 130 cities when the drivers of drivers, I mean, and many workers were protesting. But now, after 13th of June, nothing happening. Nothing happened at that. I mean, they even the prisoners are at the risk of being executed. I mean, like from the 13th of June, I read the report about five prisoners being executed for being uh, like agents of Mossad. Some of them were there in the jail from 2022. And this is also very dangerous. And one of our comrades, it's George Gonzalez, asked a question. It says that Tuda party opposite the socialist revolution in 1979. I mean, Tuda party is not a communist party. I mean, Tudeh parties was a part of the nationalist movement in Iran. They called themselves communists only because they have very good relationship with Soviet Union. Otherwise, they are not communists, and they not opposing. I mean, socialist revolution. Now they opposing all revolution. They want to peaceful change within the system of Iran, and that's right. They were opposed to socialist revolution in 1979. That's true. And they were collaborating with the regime after, I mean, the Khomeini regime, and they led the security forces to many communists, and many of communists hanged after that because of the cooperation of Tudeh party. It's a reactionary party, nothing to do with communist whatsoever.
While I'm seconded every word that Shamal saying, that let's be clear that never the Americans attention is that to get rid of the Islamic regime for the sake of the people. It's like little cousins that get crazy, and then the godfather or the family, big family, wanted to punish them and teach them what to do. But the punishment is directly going to the peoples. And actually, it's a benefit for the Islamic regime. And they know that in America. Because, like Shamal said, that in the last week, we didn't have any demonstration because people are scared, because the execution, threat from execution is so high over the entire society, because people are scared, because constantly they are arresting people for any reason, and they are threatening them with execution. During all these years, highest execution in the world, it was Iran after China, or sometimes the number were higher than China. And then execution is the last threat against the humanity, and then they are using that in such a situation. It was clear even for the US, for Israel, for everybody, if they attack Iran, if it will be the mess like what they have done it with people. Still in the TV, they show that how much people are suffering, how many people have been killed. Still they are taking people from the ruin that they died, and then they didn't report it at the time. And in such a disaster situation, people have no power to go for demonstration, to fight for their right. And this is all benefit for the system of capitalism whenever they are. And the benefit of this situation, it will help the big alliance of the capitalism all around the world. Otherwise, if it wasn't such a situation and working class and all the movement in Iran could defeat the Islamic regime and bring it councils of states, for example, our model that we are fighting for. So it will be a big threat for America, for Israel, for all the capitalist states around the region as well. And then they don't want it. It will happen because it will spread to other country. Other country will copy such a movement. For example, for women's movement, it was exactly what happened in Iraq, in neighborhood Afghanistan. They spread all around the world about the women's rights. And that is something that women, that is something that capitalism in any form of them, they don't want is such a opportunity that people win. Therefore, disrupting the movement of people, the movement of working class, the movement of women by attacking the whole area, it will benefit both of them, both US and Iran as well. But at the same time, it's like a kind of punishment that you have to, I mean, that Islamic regime have to listen to the America and be under control of America. So therefore, all our support is discussion is that people must unite with each other. The movement must start again, fighting against the Islamic regime. Regime change is not an option for Iran. People in Iran deserve better than regime change. Regime change by America and Britain and France is not acceptable. And if it happened, it will be very disaster for working class, for women's rights, for all the other movement.
We are members of Worker Communist Party of Iran, Hekmatist, and actually we are about to build a revolutionary and we are in the business of building a revolutionary and a communist party. I mean, we have built our party after the tradition is coming from the movement that you called councils. It was very big movement in Iran, and at the time of the revolution, our current that we are our like the way of thinking and the current that we had at that time criticized both I mean at the time of the revolution criticized not only Khomeini but also all who want to cooperate with Khomeini, and we from the beginning we called this regime a reactionary anti revolution regime who came actually to help bourgeoisie all over the world to suppress the working class and the working movement. And we were right. And that current led to building a communist party, which we could control a part of Kurdistan in Iran for a while, for like months, if of not years, in that part. And we built also councils in that region for people to run or to govern themselves by themselves. And I think Tudeh party has no place in the working movement in Iran, and people are much more progressive than Tudeh party. And the problem is like there is a opportunity for the working class movement to came up again, but not at the time of war, not when you are scared of your life, you have run for your life and your family. I mean, think about it. One night, Trump came to TV and said, or maybe no, he didn't bother to come to the TV. He just tweeted it on his own social network. People of Tehran leave the city. 14 million should run for their life suddenly and overnight. They have to evacuate Tehran. And at that situation, I mean, like when you think about wars and the connection between wars and revolution in our history, like one might say, okay, 1905, when Russian lost against Japan, then there was a revolution of 1905, and there was Soviets. And then in 1917, when Russia was a very weak position in the First World War, then there was opportunity for revolution. But then, I mean, Japan or maybe Germany could not bombard Petersburg. I mean, wars were on the front, on the border between the two countries. But now all the people, the society affected by this war, the bombs are just exploding the on their homes. That situation is very hard. But the workers' revolution, the labor movement is there, and whenever it's peaceful situation, this labor movement will come up again, and they are much more radical than to the party or any other party that call themselves socialist or communist, but they support an imperialist like BRICS, which you called. It's another block of imperialism. And I mean, Stalinism is an ideology or maybe a current, but the major problem is with defining the imperialism. When you define imperialism like a Western countries, Western capitalism is imperialist, and the rest of the world are anti-imperialist, then you go into the trap of being the other side of that block, and be collaborating with whoever, and it doesn't matter what their policies are. And yes, there is chances. I think our party and other socialist party working for that. After the things is settled down, then another wave of protest will come up in Iran, and it will affect the situation. It will change many things. But yes, we have to work for it. It's not easy.
Regarding the left organization, it's been divided somehow regarding this attack on Iran. And then it's not ideal, but among those groups who today, in the name of supporting people, yes, there is some left-wing thinkers or organization supporting in hope for them, in hope that the regime will gone and then it will be better for life. And there is a couple of them, especially, but they are not, in my opinion, they are not communist parties. They are nationalist party. Their ideology are nationalist, and then based on increasing of the number of ideology of the nationalism and fascism during this big attack, huge attack of capitalism. So they are going to the side of the local bourgeois ideology as well, and supporting the government, and say that this attack is against all the movement or everything. So it's not like a united side that all the left are not supporting that, but a huge number of nationalist party politics. They are supporting monarchy. They are supporting, in one side, they are supporting monarchy. They believe in regime change. In other side, they are supporting Islamic regime and say that this attack is wrong, and then because it will vanish the whole society, but not in the way that we are thinking. But there is other communist party, socialist party, human rights party organization that actually exactly what we describe here, believe that this attack is against people, It doesn't. It might make weak with the Islamic regime for a little while, but actually it will support them to attack people, and then it will make the situation for people harder, for movement harder, for working class, for social justice movement to go against the Islamic regime and making the revolution happen, because they don't believe in revolution, they believe in regime change. Um, I I just wanted to, I didn't catch it, the next question, but I wanted just to say something about to the party before we are moving to that. To be honest with you, the to the party for the next two generation in Iran is expired. They are not an issue. People are not worried about them because they don't exist in reality. There are other groups, like any other movement or party politics. Maybe a period they were active, and then after they had been united with the Islamic regime, they just vanished, to be honest with you. Maybe they are like an organization they have, but it's not actual. People, if you ask the last generation or the generation before them, they don't know who is the to the party, because they don't exist in the society. They don't work. They have been digested with the regime, kind of. So therefore, to the party is not any threat in such a situation. And the most important is that in all those social movements happen in Iran, including the working class movement, left wing is very, very strong group. And then even in the women life freedom movement as well, all the demand, everything that they wanted, actually it was from the left wing. So imagine in monarchy, or Reza Pahlavi, when they are coming back, the slogan, the motto from the monarchy is God, King, and the land. So without God, it's not possible. So they compromise with the Islamic Sharia law again if they are coming to the power, and that is not something that the last two generation in Iran doesn't want it. They don't want it to be connected with any Sharia law or Islamic law in the country. They are aware about the misogyny, Islamic misogyny, and then they are against that. So imagine that in such a situation, they are not a huge number. I think the to the party is not a threat for Iran, and monarchy as well. Maybe they have percentage of people they believe in them, but one of the reasons that America or England are not going very, very um, sure for regime change, because they found out that people in Iran doesn't want a regime change. People has learned, movement of working class and social justice club have learned from the previous revolution that they don't believe in regime change anymore. They wanted that some revolution happen right in Iran. So therefore, I believe that they are very, very careful about supporting monarchy as well. Although recently, just 2 days ago, from the Britain government, they invited Reza Pahlavi, and then they discussed about that possibility about that he could be a good leader, but they are very careful, following all the news, wanted to see if there is opportunity to post Reza Pahlavi to Iran for regime change or not. But we believe that people's capacity of the movement in Iran, working class, social justice movement, is higher than just post the man to Iran and then change the regime as they wanted.
It's from organization within Iran. workers organization, independent worker organization within Iran. So somehow, yes, it's true that it's always like that. It's not only Iran, all over the world. Left are not unified. I mean, there is different opinions among the left. But as a party, our party try now to form a form of collaboration and solidarity among different left-wing parties, despite their ideology differences, in order to come together in one shape to impose both the imperialist war and United States, Israel, and also Islamic Republic of Iran. And there's something else. Workers' independent organization in this time, I mean, to go against the occupation. There is no occupation in Iran. You know, it's only B-20, B-52 and B-2 who come in and throwing bombs on the cities. People cannot fight against warplanes, but they can now. They have suggested that like building or making an aid networks between people. And it was very impressive that during the war, when Trump suggested that people from Tehran should leave the city, many people in different cities in Iran just called, come to us. We will give you our bread. We will share our bread with you. We will share our food with you. We will share our home with you. And that's spirit of solidarity among people. One can build upon that. It's very important. It's there. It exists. It's not disappearing during the war. People like each other. People want to make solidarity with each other, and those type of aid networks might be a ground, might be a beginning, a first step toward a more like developed organization of people, and like the same council movement can come up again. And for how the workers in United States can support Iranian people, and they should go against their state. I mean, there is already war between Trump and people in LA, in people in other part of California. There is a war between people of United States against the government. They should add to their slogans that stop the war on Iran, and to impose the stop the aid to Israel, because Israel playing the front role of United States imperialism against the Middle East region, and to like they are the front. I mean, the people who supporting or executing the policies of United States. I mean, workers in United States should should force United States to stop the war. Actually, Trump, I won't be surprised that they will find a one guard. I mean, the Revolutionary Guard, the Islamic Guard. Won't be surprised to find a very reactionary, very sectarian element inside the regime to support him against the regime, and to make a regime change within the regime with preserving the Islamic identity and the Shia identity of the regime. They don't have any problem. I mean, Trump said that they want for their women to have scarf of their. Why we bother with that? I mean, they support in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia only in 2024 beheaded by sword 330 persons on the streets of Saudi Arabia, and Trump is supporting Saudi Arabia. They don't have any problem. I mean, they brought one from ISIS to run Syria, and now they're supporting them. They giving them money. They just ended all the sanction against it. I mean, I won't be surprised that Trump will go and support fundamentals all over the world.